Hey everybody, welcome to the lounge. I'm Larry.
I'm Joe Bump.
And today we're doing Keeping It Real.
That's it, we're going to keep it real today.
Yeah, we're going to try to keep it as real as we possibly can.
I'm going to keep it real. I don't know about anybody else.
Yeah.
What about you?
I'm keeping it real.
We're keeping it real.
Yeah.
And guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in.
Tune in.
Right?
Yeah.
Tuning in. So what we're talking about today is sensitive topics of discussion on social media and just in public forums in general.
Sensitive.
Especially concentrating more on religion and politics.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, it's like those are the two things that you're taught. You should be taught when you're young that they are very sensitive issues to bring up about. Like, some people don't have a problem bringing that up at all to somebody else, but it's like they are two of the things that you have to really be careful of, because some people are so passionate about what they believe that they won't listen to the other side, and they have, they have closed ears. Yeah, exactly, and that they only see this, and then they get angry. I think more arguments have happened over politics and religion than anything else.
There is a lot of arguments. Unfortunately, people are a-holes. And, I feel that you should be able to talk about whatever you want to talk about. Mm-hmm. As long as you do it, again, and this is obviously a very current theme, you do it respectively, and you don't judge anybody for it. If I, and again, we're both Christians, but say if we weren't, and I did not believe in God or Christ, and he did, and we're talking about religion, if he's judging me and talking down on me and condemning me, that's just going to drive me away from the church more than anything else, right? You don't want to do that. You want to be open and accepting to whatever anybody believes. I'm not going to dislike you because you voted for Donald Trump. He didn't. I'm not saying he did or didn't. I'm just saying in general.
Right.
And if I voted for Hillary Clinton, there's no reason for us that we can't be friends. Right. We may not see eye to eye on anything, but we have to be able to hear what everybody's saying, respect it, and if we don't agree with it, then that's fine. Or we can say we don't agree with it, but we don't have to attack anybody for it. Yeah. And I think that's where the problem comes in, is that people get so passionate, like you said, about it, and so worked up about it, they get angry, they get defensive, they get, it's a bad, why even go there if you don't have to? And that's the whole point.
Yeah. I think what happens a lot of times is, like, people feel that if somebody has a differing opinion of themselves, it's an automatic attack on their beliefs and on what they stand for and everything. And it's not that. And in our world right now, I think it's one of the craziest times that, since I've been alive, that what's going on right now. And granted, there's been some throughout history. It's always been, there's been crazy times. Yeah, but there's a lot going on now. I mean, I think that the president has a lot to do with it, unfortunately. I think that the whole race relation, there's a lot of issues going on there. There's ridiculous neo-Nazi movements that are going on, and white supremacy stuff. Yeah. It's absolutely ridiculous, and all this stuff with the tearing down the monuments. I'm not going to give you all my opinion about that, because that's why we're having this discussion. Right. Because maybe you shouldn't. Yeah, that's our point on this. Is like, should it be brought up on social media? Because it's like, for one thing, like if your friends having that conversation, and I've seen friends get torn apart because of having different opinions on this kind of stuff, whether it's religion or politics. I read this whole conversation, and I got sucked into it because it was kind of entertaining. Somebody put up an article on Facebook about Baltimore mayor taking down all the Civil War monuments, Confederate monuments overnight, so nobody could protest. Right. First of all, it's crazy to me that there are those monuments up in Baltimore, because that's pretty far north. But that's neither here nor there. One person made a very educated argument about why she thought it was a good idea and why it should have happened, and I personally agreed with that viewpoint of it. And this other person just wasn't hearing what she was saying, and was saying, well, my dad's a history teacher, I know this and this, you can't erase history, and I don't think they're trying to erase history. Right. Unfortunately, all those monuments, just to give you guys a quick history lesson, all those Confederate monuments weren't put up there after the war. They were put up there from like 1950 to 1925, right during all the Jim Crow laws, all the KKK was upcoming, and a lot of those Confederate statues were put up from the children of the Confederacy. You know what I mean? Like their grandchildren. They were put up to honor their and I think they had their place on battlefields and museums, right. But not necessarily in town squares. So they represent a pretty dark time in our history. And that's our opinions now. I probably shouldn't have said it. I can't help it, but no, I do agree with you on that, though. I do believe that they should be in museums and everything, but that's our opinions. Exactly. And if you have a different opinion, I don't. We respect that. We're not. And I might disagree with you, and I might give you my educated reason why I feel differently. Right. But I'm not going to think differently of you unless you're telling me that
white power, blah blah blah. Then I'm like,
there's certain things that we will sit there and say that that's.
I will say that that you're an idiot if you say that.
Yeah, it's just like with the KKK, all that stuff kind of stuff is like I'll just sit there and say it's like I don't agree with any of it. I never will. I don't have that kind of hate in my heart, but. There's, and you can go on either side of it, and that's with everything that people are like, and race now is, I think that is probably even bigger than religion and politics is race. Yeah.
It's such a touchy subject for everybody.
Yeah.
And as a white person, I don't know that I necessarily have the right to comment on certain situations.
No, right.
Because we don't live that life, we don't experience those things.
And I don't know about you, but I've kind of felt like we've taken 2 steps forwards and then 1 step back recently.
See, I thought it was more like 1 step forward and like 2 step back.
Okay, well,
we're not. I don't think we're making ground. I think we're falling back.
Yeah, I think we have. You're probably more correct. I think we have. As a matter of fact, I think that's the saying: 1 step forward, 2 steps back.
Opposite track, Paul Abdul.
Yeah, but no, but I think that was the saying before she made that song. But
she probably stole it.
Yeah, it wasn't copyrighted. But the point is what we're trying to say is that it's like, one of the things like they say is that like if you were going out with a girl for the first time and you go over to meet their family, one of the things that you should not step around or talk about and step on people's toes is you should not talk about religion or politics at the dinner table.
No, or when you first meet anybody.
Or anywhere. Like, I mean, if you're sitting on the couch or whatever. But and the reason why is because you don't know what their opinions are on it, and you don't know how strong their opinions are, and that could create.
Well, that could form their opinion about you.
Yes,
early on. I talk to my friends. I've talked to you about politics, religion, my family, people who know me, and who know my heart and my true opinion about things and where I'm coming from. But to be honest with you, the majority of people that I'm friends with on Facebook and social media aren't those type of people. Yeah, they're there, but the other ones are people that I knew from high school. I would see here and there who I do care for, but they don't know where I'm at. Like, they haven't talked to me in 15, 20 years. They don't know what my real opinions are.
Right.
And you can say one thing and mean it completely, especially over like text or social media on email. So not email, you know what I mean? Like type of something. And you can say one thing and mean and have a really great meaning, and somebody can take it completely the other way.
That's because there's no inflection in it.
Right, and they read it wrong because that's where their mindset is, and they're thinking, well, this person doesn't agree with them, so whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because people read tones into whether it's on Facebook
whatever
Twitter
tone they want to read.
They read a tone into it, especially if it's different than your opinion.
Right, exactly.
It's almost like a hostile tone. Maybe you were just trying to talk to somebody. That's why I don't think it belongs on social media.
No, that's a bit. I think that's one of the biggest reasons why it's hard to tell where you're coming from just by what you write.
Yeah. It is like I said.
You can read one thing 14 different ways if you want to.
And it's funny because I've been around for quite some time now. But my point is that I've never seen so much anger from different sides of whether you're a Trump supporter, Hillary supporter, whatever, or not. I'll put Republican, Democrat instead of those two.
Yeah.
But I've never seen so much anger towards each other that I've seen recently.
I think a lot of it comes from just where we are in the country, unfortunately, and we're not in the best spot ever. There's a lot of unrest within our nation, and it's not just religion or not just politics. I think right now it's race. To be 100% honest, I think that's the majority of it, and there's a reason for it, and it's unfortunate. But politics play a big part of it. Not even religion as much. I feel like religion is okay to have a conversation about because people usually typically don't get angry unless you're like one of those people from that one church, whatever it was, that one Hillenborough church, whatever, where they say, hate all gays, God kills gays. That everybody knows what that. I'm not saying that. That's what everybody knows that church says. I forget what that church is called, but other than that, typically religion is not a hateful conversation.
Actually, I've seen a lot of hate, even when it's not to that extreme. When it comes to an atheist and somebody who believes, and I never think it has to be that. I never do, because it's like me as a Christian. I know that it's like I have my beliefs, you have yours. That's fine. I'm not here to prove anything anyway, and that's not our job.
No, we're not preachers. We're not here to preach at you.
We are here because we struggle with our lives as much as we can, and we're trying to live our lives according to what we believe. And you should do the same with whatever you believe. And we'll let, if there is a God, and in our realm, we believe there is. But it's like, if there is one, then I think he's big enough to actually do his job, and that we worry about what we're supposed to do.
I remember I was in high school. I was a senior in high school, and we're talking 20 years ago. And this conversation stuck out for me. It was probably after a long night party or whatever. And my one friend who was an atheist said to me, he's like, you're the only Christian guy I've ever talked to who's never tried to push your beliefs on me.
Right.
You had an open and honest conversation about it. You explained to me why you felt the way I did, but when I told you how I felt, there was no judgment or saying, oh, you're going to hell.
Right.
And I was like, well, that's not my place. I mean, we're friends regardless of what you believe.
Right.
I would love you to believe, because when I believe you're going to hell. I didn't say it to him. I want you, because, I want you to be with me. But it was, I'll never forget it. I mean, we're talking about 20 years ago now. And it was a simple conversation like that he probably has no idea he even said it.
Right.
But to me, it did. It meant the world, because that's exactly how I wanted to come across.
I remember kind of a similar thing is what happened is that this person was using the Lord's name in vain over and over and over again. They knew that I was a Christian. So they turned to me and they had said, oh, I'm sorry, like that to me. And I turned around and I looked at it, I was like, oh, don't be sorry to me. You're answered for that, not me. I'm
Right.
And if you don't believe in it, you don't have to worry about it.
Right, but you appreciate the fact that he was worried that it would offend you, and that's why he's like, hey, my bad if I offend you, which... But I mean, it does. It would offend a lot of people. I know that word offends a lot of people.
Right. I don't use it. I don't like it. But at the same point, I'm not going to judge somebody on it because that's not my job. My job is just to sit there and not to be a stumbling block to anybody. To just you believe what you want to believe. I'll let God do what He has to do. And the same thing with religion. It's like in that aspect, it's like you believe what you want to believe. I believe what I want to believe. And we should still be able to get along and have a conversation on it.
You're exactly right. Like we're both Christians. I guarantee we don't have the same beliefs about everything. I know we don't. We've had these conversations before. And it's not that one of us is right or wrong. It's just that I respect what you think, and I want to explain to you why I feel the way I do.
Right.
But guess what, guys? We're friends. We're doing it in person, in close quarters. We're not doing it in public forums.
And you can hear the inflection of your.
I think that's the biggest thing. Having these conversations, okay, it's a time and a place. Don't do it when you first know somebody. Do it to people that know you, that know who you are, and won't judge you for it. And don't do it on social media. You can put your posts up, whatever you want, articles, whatever you want to do. Right. But when you start putting those comments up there, people are going to read it the wrong way because that's what people do.
I've seen countless fights on Facebook over it.
Yeah, and stupid. I mean, like I said, that one I was talking about on Facebook, the other person was like, well, you're here to start trouble, and they defended each other, and it's just, which I think is all petty, stupid stuff.
Yeah, it makes no sense to me, and that's what I'm saying. And the media will always have a certain amount to play in all this because they do like to sensationalize because
because it gives them ratings.
Exactly, that's how they make their money is by saying the same things over and over and over again, and to try to create drama and all that stuff. And I mean, everybody should be wise of that to begin with. But we're just saying, and our whole point on this is like we both believe that it shouldn't be on social media. Like, so if you have that urge to post that one thing about what you believe, whether it's religion or politics, because you feel very strong on that. Now, I have posted some joke stuff before, but that's a little different.
I don't think it's that horrible to post what you believe. Like, if I'm like, hey, I'm a Christian, I believe in God, it's when you're saying, hey, you guys need to believe in God. Well, you guys need to, you can't enforce your opinion on somebody else. You're free to give your own opinion, but then when you do and somebody responds back to you, don't fall in the traps of having that conversation. It's the conversation that gets nasty.
No, I agree with you. And the problem is, like, even like when I made a joke about Donald Trump not that long ago on
poor taste.
But I did it on Twitter, and then it's going to offend people who really love Donald Trump, and I didn't mean it as that. I thought it was a funny joke, and that's what a lot of people who make jokes and stuff. It's not like you're trying to be mean, and it's like I don't hate Donald Trump. I never have. Yeah. It just doesn't mean that I like everything that he stands for. But you know what? I didn't like everything that Obama did. I don't like everything that anybody does.
Yeah.
So it wasn't about. It's not about like a lot of people will assume that because you say one thing that you hate that person, you're against
It's the end all be all. There's no gray area. It's black and white with some people.
Yeah,
and there is a gray area, and the majority of the world I feel fits into the gray area.
Yeah, and I think that's what we got to be careful of, and we got to get into that mindset, guys. That everybody should be able to have an opinion. We should respect each other's opinion, and we should all. You know what? We're on this whole blue marble all together. We need to get along.
It's true, and just be aware and be smart when you're posting something on social media. think twice about it. Don't do it hastily. Is the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
And just the comments and your opinions are people are going to read it wrong. So if you want to put it out there, all power to you. But just realize when you get hate for it,
there's probably a reason why. You
know what I mean? There's hate and unfortunately, this day and age, guys, there's a lot of hate out there. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of of people going on. And just you guys keep focused, stay the course, keep loving your heart. And keep respect for one another.
In this crazy world that we're living in right now, you know what? Let's try to get along, guys. Until next time, hey, we'll meet you at the lounge.